Today we'll be proceeding on the business analysis. So we will be discussing on requirement because last week we've identified our stakeholders and we discussed on what the business analyst, what you need to do, what are the things that you need to do, what is the information about business analysis. So now that you know what you are required to do as a business analyst, so we've identified our stakeholders because that's one of the things that you need to do as a business analyst. And the other things that you need to do is to also elicit your requirements, so to get all those requirements from your stakeholders. And there are several ways that you can do that. So we'll talk about the requirements process because there are so this business analysis is based on requirements as well. I think is one of the main things that we do as part of the business analysis. And so the first stage is requirement solicitation. And so what is our requirement solicitation? So this is a stage whereby now that you've identified your stakeholders, you need to get those requirements from them. What do they need to do? What are the problems that they have? What are the things that they need to put in place? What, they actually assigned. You need to find out, what they actually expect you to do on that project because you'll be assigned to the project to work on it. So you need to find out because they won't really tell you much, but they will just tell you you've been assigned on this project and probably maybe it's to discuss or to build a new system or maybe to develop a website or maybe to work on a regulation. So that's all. So you just need to go and investigate. So that's why we say the first stage is to investigate. And the second stage is also once you gather all these requirements from your stakeholders, probably maybe through research or whatever investigation technique that you use, you need to now analyze all those information that you've gathered. All the requirements that you have, you need to analyze it. So analysis is trying to find out, so where's the gap, what do they have now, so what do they need, and also what are the categories of the requirements as well, which ones are functional requirements, which ones are hardware requirements, which ones are systems requirements. So you need to analyze all those requirements. So, and your requirement specification is about documenting all this information. Because because the stakeholders will now write all those things down from you, they will just be telling you. So which we're going to discuss how you'll be collecting all those information. But you now need to put all those information together in a document. So we call that requirement documentation, and it could be probably maybe in your process map as well. So all you need to do is to now document it and to specify that and say these are the things that you actually want maybe your technical team or the supplier to actually develop for you. And once you've documented all those things, before you can actually send these documents to anyone, to your IT team or to your to the supplier, you need to get an approval. Because without the approval, that means that all the your requirement document is void. So if you don't get is one of the, let me say, is an important step that you need to take, because without that, so they will just ask you who actually approved that for you, because they may decide to tell you after you gather the requirements, maybe a few weeks later, the governments have released some new policies that has affected their requirements. So they supposed to have changed. They were expecting you that probably maybe once you've documented it, you will surely bring it to them, present the document or send it to them for an approval. Then they will be able to tell you that, oh, we need to change it. So and because when you are doing that, that's an opportunity for the stakeholder to review everything that they've informed you or all the things that they've documented, because sometimes they may mean one thing and you've documented another thing. So it's an opportunity for them to review it, to be able to say, is everything you documented, is it okay with them? Is that everything that they want? Then they will now be able to, sign it off. That's when we say sign off. So they will be able to sign it off for you and say, yes, we're happy. Can you proceed with the development? So that is what they do. So that's what the stage is all about. So it's an important step that you need to take as well once you are documenting your requirements. So you need to get an approval for it before anyone can work on it. Okay, so now So these are our requirements elicitation technique. So it's about, the first stage that I showed you earlier, the requirements elicitation. Why do you need to, investigate? Why do you need to gather requirements? So the purpose of, carrying out this investigation is to identify an area of concern from the business. Because they may tell you this is our problem, but it could be another thing. So while you are investigating, asking them questions, you'll be able to find out what the problem is. And also is to identify maybe weakness of the system. So probably they may tell you that the system is time consuming, is very slow, or maybe they cannot provide an approval within the system. So it's an opportunity for you to be able to know all those weaknesses that the system have, so that you'll be able to now work on it to improve on it. And also, the reason why you investigate is to identify the business needs. You want to know what they need, because without this stage, you cannot know what the business needs. So it's a way that you can actually ask the stakeholders what they need, what they expect from the system. And also so you can use this stage to compile all your requirements for a new system. It could be for a change, or it could be for a change. Probably maybe they have an existing system and they just want you to work on it. Maybe they want to modify, they want to upgrade, or they want to change something in there. So it's not necessary that it has to be just for new system only. So it could be for an existing system, they just want to do some improvements on it. So, and it could be for a business process. It may be that they don't even need a system. They just want to, that's what we call business process improvements. So it could just be maybe the way they actually work, they carry out some tasks, they want to change it. Maybe they've identified some bottlenecks and they just feel, oh, there's a problem here. So for example, let's say Tesco now, so they are delivering, once you place an order, and maybe their standard delivery, once you place an order, it takes 5 days or 4 working days for them to deliver. And they may think, oh, we can do better. So let's improve this system. We want to, because they're not changing the system that you used to place the order. They are just, trying to work on the process, activities that they carry out between when you place an order to the time that they deliver. So because you are not using system at that time. So probably it could be they're saying the process is that once you place an order, maybe the warehouse team, they retrieve that the order details, they try to check their inventory, and they try to contact the delivery team. So probably maybe the delivery team usually takes maybe 24 hours. So they may try to understand why is the delivery team taking 24 hours to carry out their own activities. Then they'll be able to understand, is it that probably maybe the delivery team say they will have to get an approval from the head of their business, and they have to, it could be that there's a chain, you understand, that it takes longer time, So probably they may say like, okay, instead of maybe getting approval for 3 approval, they may try to say, okay, why not put a system in place to just be 1 approval and everything will still be effective. So it could be something like that. So it could just be business process improvement. So it's not always a new thing. You understand? A new system is not going to be, not all the time. So it could be maybe an existing system, they just want to improve on it, or probably maybe they just want to improve the processes. So which has nothing to do, it may or it may not have anything to do with the system. And also you investigate to be able to know the problem, maybe with their current operation, like I just explained. It could be maybe with their current operation, then you need to address that. Or it could be probably maybe just additional features, that you just want to add to an existing system. So there are so many reasons why you need to investigate. And so somebody just asked that, what if there's an urgent need for a business process to be improved? Will a BSC need to go around all stakeholders? Because if there's because you have um, regardless whether you is an urgent project or so, because they will still give you time. So you just need to identify the key people that actually need to that work on that business process. Then you'll be able to understand how it works. Then you'll be able to know how to deal with that, because regardless you still need to meet with the required stakeholders that actually know all about the system, so or that process. You still need to contact them. So then, so we have several investigation techniques, and also I think there's a textbook that they business analyst textbook that they call 72 investigation techniques. So you can get that. I have it as well. So I do refer to it, sometimes just to read up on that. So it's 72 investigation techniques. So it's explained about the investigation techniques, what are the things that you need to do. But we are just going to discuss few of it tonight, because I'm not going to tell you 72 techniques, but I'm going to discuss the main ones that you will come across that you need to know. So interview. So what is all about interview? So interview, like we all know, is you meeting with the stakeholder, one-on-one. It could be maybe yourself and just two other people. It could be. So maybe it could be maybe the a manager and the assistant. The manager may decide to bring maybe their admin or their PA to the room, maybe just to actually brush up on the information that the manager is going to give you. So interview is like when you have like one-to-one. So we usually say is one-to-one interview, that you'll be able to ask them questions, you'll be asking them questions, and there are some certain things that you need to do before you have that interview, which we're going to discuss later, maybe in a few minutes time. So interview is when you have one-to-one, and it's just like when you go for interview, it's just like that interview, because you may have a panel of 3 people or 2 people, and they just be interviewing you. They will be asking you questions. So it's exactly like that. It's just like a one-to-one that you ask them interview. You ask them about what the problem is, what they're trying to achieve, what are the features that they need. That is all about interview. But we are still going to discuss detail on that. And workshop is so interview workshop, you need to really, really know how to do this. And like I do say, if you're a shy person or timid, please, you need to, brave up yourself, because workshop, you will be facing the crowd. It could be probably you have about 8 people in the room from the business unit, because workshop, it has to do with you invite stakeholders from different business areas. And the only time I would say you will need a workshop is when you are working on a project that involves multiple business functions. Business, maybe on that project you are working the finance as stake in it, the facilities as well, the HR, the IT, different business units. When you have multiple business units, then it may require that you use workshop, because it may be difficult or time consuming to actually meet them one-to-one. One-on-one is maybe difficult, because imagine if you have about 25 people, 25 stakeholders, let's say stakeholders, and how do you want to, and they expect you to document your business, your BA artifacts maybe within 3 weeks or 1 month. Because the time is not everybody that will be available, maybe the first 2 weeks, and you still need time to document it, to review it, to do the validation and all those processes. So workshop is when you have multiple people. So we are still going to discuss, going to discuss in detail about this, what you need to do and how that will be done as well. So we have research. It's not all the projects that the stakeholders will give you all the requirements, or they will know about it. Like I said last week, there are some times that the stakeholder, they don't even know the features that they want as or maybe in the system that they require. They may just tell you, we just need a new HR system. We just need to change our the way our training department works, the way the staff do their training. We just need a system to help us improve all this manual handling. They may just tell you that, and they don't have an idea. They don't even have clue. They may not even know maybe the name of the system. We just need a system that can help us to improve our training or to help us deliver training to staff. So that means they have no idea, but they will have an idea of some things that they will need in it. So what you need to do is to go on internet and research on it. So now if I'm assigned an HR, assuming I don't know any HR system, and I don't know the functionalities, fine, everybody knows that you need to be able to recruit, staff, so, and onboard. So, but there are some things that they will be able to do, they will need to do. So what I need to do is to research that, HR, just type on Google, HR system. So it will give me, various HR systems that's available, and also the functionalities as well. So having all those information, saying maybe you'll be able to map from the onboarding, or you'll be able to send a letter to the applicants. Once you offer them letter, they don't, it will generate it automatically. So there are some maybe systems that have that functionality, but not all. So with that, I can now go back to my stakeholder and say, okay, I've researched on this on the HR system, and I've documented some, I've listed some features. So you now need to run through these requirements with them, saying, okay, do you need ability for the system to be able to generate, automatically generate offer letter? They will say, oh yes, that would be good. But meanwhile, if you ask them before you actually carried out your research, they may not even know that the system can do that. So that is, that is also a good way, for you. And even I will even suggest, whenever they are assigned to any project, you can just research on it, because when you research on it, it will help you to actually know the type of questions that you ask them, and also to aid their thinking as well. So research, and sometimes, like the regulatory project, let's say for the GDPR project, because that information is online. But there are in some organizations, they don't really know all the details about the GDPR, what they need to do about the data protection and compliance. So you have to, read up on it on the internet. Then you'll be able to say, oh, we have to put a process in place that the people will be able to, give their consent, or maybe to be able to the right to be forgotten, or we have to, all those measures, because you will not be able to say, these are the requirements that we need to meet. So that is when you use your research. So you can use your research for that. And also document analysis. There are so many times that you have projects that you cannot, because it may be maybe you have various various stakeholders that you cannot meet, and it may be that you just need to analyze the documents. You just need to review all the documents. So, for example, if you're working on let's say something that has to do with paper, it has to be with something that is a document. So it may be you need to review how the form is being designed, how the document, how the invoices, maybe the invoices, you need to look at the invoice, the one that they have in once, and maybe the one that they have in existing. So because that document analysis, if you use the documents and research, you still need to validate all those requirements, with the stakeholder. It's not that you just analyze it and just put a document or your requirements without, input from the stakeholder, or without verifying from the stakeholder. You still need to run it by them and say, okay, these are the weaknesses I've identified, and is this what you want? Okay, do you want this? Do you want this? Do you want this? So document analysis, it helps you because it saves time as well. So there's some scenario that you just have to use document analysis. And because there are some times that and also, just before I forget, because in this investigation techniques, you can divide it into two. We have qualitative and quantitative. So when we say qualitative, so the qualitative is like the one-to-one, the workshop, you understand, the observation. But when we are not talking about quantity, we can be talking about the documents, you understand. So like, for example, during the GDPR project, and I had to review a lot of documents, a lot of, I was then questionnaires. What I did was to actually using all this method. Because I don't have to meet with them. Not every one of them I'll be able to meet one-to-one. So there are some scenarios that you just have to review some documents to be able to understand the requirements or understand the weakness or the problem that they have. And also we have questionnaire. Questionnaire falls under the quantitative. Like I said, assuming that you want to capture maybe the council, your borough wants to improve their customer service. They may send out a questionnaire to be able to know how they can improve their service. So probably, so imagine they send out questionnaire to about 10 or let's say 500 people. It's not possible for you to be, going to each houses and start, gathering requirements from there that what do you need, what do you need, what do you need. So with the questionnaire, it saves you time. It's just that everybody, that, okay, you can even send the questionnaire to maybe various staff groups. Let's say in organizations. So it could be in-house. Maybe you just send it to the staff and say you want to do maybe feedback or what do they call it in the organization. Ask all of them to complete the questionnaire. So with that, you'll be able to collect it and identify where the problem is, what are the processes that you need to improve. Maybe the HR needs to be improved. Maybe they need to work on the packages, the bonuses, things like that. So you use questionnaire to also investigate as well. So that's one of the techniques that you can use. Prototype is when you actually document, when you have something like let's say you build a system and you just want to use that to elicit your requirements, saying, okay, how do you want the system to work? Does the system need to, it's like simulating a process or maybe a system. So they can say, I want this. I don't want the functionalities. I want the functionalities of that one. I don't want this one. Oh, can you move this one? So you use that also. Like I explained last week, you use a wireframe. So it's more or less like wireframe. You use, but wireframe, it could be the paper, but this could be maybe a physical thing, that you will be able to see. Then they may say, oh, I don't like how it was. Can you make sure it stores, or, it could be physical. It could be also intangible things, so it could be tangible. So you use that to elicit requirements to understand what they need and how they want it as well. And also we have observation. When you observe you are observing a person, that's just it. So it could be that sometimes you just need to understand the process. When you understand the process, it's just like watching people, how they do things. So you are just walking around. It could be you may try to visit maybe a particular department to understand how they do their things, just to monitor, while observing how people do things, you may be able to gather some of the requirements also. And the other one is shadowing. Shadowing is when you are following somebody, and how they carry out the activities as well. Maybe a particular process, maybe how they create a new staff in the organization. So you may want to see how they are doing it so that you'll be able to understand the problem that they encounter, because there are some times that it's not everything you can explain. You understand? It's not everything you can explain. So you just need to show this person that, okay, can you come to my desk? Let me show you. So you may want to understand. They may say, oh, it takes about, I don't even know, but it takes a long time. But you want to understand how long did it take. You want to understand. They may say, oh, it's not really easy to create, an account. So it may be difficult for them to be able to explain it to you. So that means you need to find a way to, to understand it. So by maybe watching how they are doing it, to see how the process is, what they do. Maybe they have to open a particular application. Once they create an account, they have to open another finance system to link it, and they have to, it could be, could be something like that they will not be able, it may not be really easy, you understand, to explain. So you just need to see it. So imagine they say they used to, I think I've heard about people saying if they want to work on a particular thing, they need to open about 6 applications. You understand? So they may want to try and find a way, to make sure the system is user friendly and is not, what's it called? Is not really people, is easy to use. Let me just put it that way. So shadowing is another way that you can use to gather your requirements. And also we have scenario analysis. So it's just like saying, the stakeholder may tell you, saying, this is in case you have they will use a scenario to explain something to you. So that scenario analysis, then you'll be able to gather your requirement from there. So, but you need to, because when you are assigned to a project, you need to determine the investigation technique that you're going to use for the project. So, for example, if you are working on a data project, it may not really be easy for you to gather all the requirements, by speaking to them one by one. So you may have to use questionnaire. You may have to use document analysis. So, but you need to determine which one which will be, best to use for that project, or that will be fit for that purpose. You need to determine that. So nobody's going to tell you you have to use this, or you have to use a workshop, or you have to use interview or questionnaire. Nobody's going to tell you that. So you have to determine how you are going to do it. And even when you do all this, like I said earlier, you still need to make sure you validate that. And like for example, there are some projects that you still need to, maybe your team lead needs to be able to approve it and say, okay, we are going to do this. But regardless, everything still needs to be documented. And so we are going to discuss detail in the interview. Let me just go through the question that is there. So let me just reading through here. With the requirement, if I gather, sorry, this thing is concept, process aligned with the concept. Sorry, it seems this, I can't really get this properly. Trying to go through the question here. With the requirements process align? So requirements is different thing. Okay, requirements processes are aligned with the concept of requirements engineering. Sorry, I don't understand that question. Let me go to the one. What if there's an urgent business in? I think business needs to be improved. I think we've discussed on this one. Prototype. What if it is a project that involves building an app? How would you come up with a prototype? So I think where I discussed this briefly last week is about using your wireframe. So you can use the wireframe. So we are going to, I think that will be probably maybe 2 weeks time that we'll discuss on wireframe. If you are developing an app, any digital project, you need to use a wireframe, like the prototype. So you need to do that so you can develop maybe just sometimes, the supplier, they may try to design just maybe a static website for you just to see how everything, not all, but to give you an idea of what your website is going to look. So shadowing and observation. Yeah, shadowing and observation, similar. Yes, it's similar. Shadowing and observation are similar. Yes, that's good. What is the difference between... because observation is when you are observing. It's not that you are following, because shadowing, it could be probably maybe you have to sit with them, probably maybe for 2 days or 1 day to understand the end to end. Observing, it may not necessarily be one person that you're observing. It could be you are moving around, so it's difficult to explain, the difference. But one thing is just want to understand is, it's just how you shadow. You try to understand what they do. You understand what they do. You want to understand it. So that's just how I can explain it. Like I said, there are some things that you cannot really explain. But shadowing is when you actually want to understand how that task is being done. Observing, you are just seeing how people are working. It could be you are observing how that person is doing it as well. But it's similar. Let me just put it that way. It's been similar. Yes. So from your experience, what's the best method to use for requirements process? To be honest, I've used questionnaire before. I've used workshop before. I've used interview. I've used shadowing as well. So because I've worked on different projects, so I've used various. But like I said, you just have to. It depends on the project. Any project that has to do with, it involves data and it involves a lot of information. Definitely sometimes it's good to use a questionnaire. That does not mean that you cannot interview people with that as well. But it's just as when you may interview some people and you may decide to use questionnaire for some other people. So it's just that it will save time for you to be able to, because you may have 50 people and you can go or meet with them one-on-one. And it may be difficult to even have them, the workshop as well. So sometimes you may just have to, I'm sure by the time you understand how these things, you'll be able to determine what you need to do or the technique that you need to use for this as well. Can one make assumption on requirements? No. You cannot make assumption on requirement. I think we discussed it last week. You cannot make assumption. You have to, like I said, even if you research and you find out that maybe for this HR system, the system can automatically generate, offer letter once the manager says, I'm happy with this person. You still have to check with your stakeholder to say, do you want this functionality for the system to generate a offer letter for any maybe successful candidate? You still have to check with them. So don't assume any requirements. Even if you think of it, you still need to check with them. So for the interview, so there are some questions that you need to ask about your interview when you are doing the interview, because you can't just approach anyone. So who do you need to interview? Who exactly do you need to interview? Whenever they place you on any project and you have to use interviewing, you need to make sure you start with the senior stakeholder. Because the reason why you start with the senior stakeholder is that this senior stakeholder, because they have an overview. They may not really know all the details that they need, how the admin people or maybe the junior staff, how they carry out those activities. They may not know, but they have an idea. They have an idea of what they're trying to achieve, overview of it, or let's say the high level. They will be able to point you into the right direction, saying, okay, Habi, what you need to do, because I can tell you overview of what we need. We need a system to help us in our finance team to be able to process staff salary, to be able to generate pay slip, to be able to do this, to be able to help us with our ledger, and also all the maybe all the invoices. They may tell you that. But then the stakeholder, if you interview the stakeholder first, then the stakeholder will be able to tell you, but I don't know the detail of how all those ledger, how they generate it or how they calculate it. You need to speak with maybe you need to speak with Rose Smith. She's the person in charge. She's the person that usually work on this general ledger. And for the pay slip, you need to speak with maybe Max, they will give it. So the senior stakeholder will give you the name. So for invoice, I think the person that handles it is the best person for you is to speak with this. So the senior stakeholder will help you. Now assuming that you have just one name in finance as your stakeholder, but with the help of your senior stakeholder, the person will be able to, as giving you 3 additional names. So then because you need the detail. The senior stakeholder does not know, all the detail, but because the junior staff, they will be able to help you to give you the detail, because you need to understand how it works, how the system works, and their problem, what they're finding difficult, and what they want. So that's why it's always good to start with a senior stakeholder. Always start your interview with senior stakeholder, because even your project manager will not give you junior staff name. I'm sure the person will give you, your project manager will give you somebody like mid or senior manager, So, and it's the senior manager, because imagine now they've assigned you to a group and you're now going to meet Rose Smith. And Rose Smith is just like, let's say, the maybe the accounting assistant, let's put it that way. Maybe that's the role. And you just say, I'd like to interview for this new finance project that we want to work on. The person, maybe Rosemary is not even aware of these projects, So it will just say, I'm sorry, I don't know anything about this project. The person will just tell you that, because the manager has not informed Rose Smith about the projects. So if you approach the senior stakeholder, now the senior stakeholder knows that he has given you the name of the, the junior staff that you need to approach for detail. Then the senior stakeholder will communicate with the staff saying, my staff, this person, the new BA Habby, will be working, or maybe BA Habby working on our new finance project, which the board has approved. The person will be contacting you. Make sure you clear your calendar whenever she contacts you. That's it. So the senior stakeholder has helped you, in case if there's any obstacle that even if you try to reach maybe Rose Smith, and the Smith is not giving you any time, you can easily go to the senior stakeholder and saying, oh, I've been trying to meet with Smith to gather this requirement regarding the ledger. Can you please help me try to intervene, and so that I can gather this, because we need to, it's not that you are reporting. Don't try to report the person, but in a way you just have to be diplomatic about it, saying you are trying to achieve this, but you think maybe this Rose Smith is busy, but you just need, and at the same time you have a deadline to document all this requirement. Definitely the senior stakeholder, because they know that it's for their own benefit, the senior stakeholder will speak with the Rose Smith and say, could you please clear your diary? Don't worry, leave that one, just attend to the BA to gather your requirement, because it's for our own good. So that's why you need to start with your senior stakeholder. And also, when you and sometimes when you start with the senior stakeholder, they may even help you to identify other people, maybe the business area. Maybe the project manager thought this project is just about finance team or finance department. But speaking with the senior stakeholder who knows everything that involves on this project, then the senior stakeholder will be able to tell you, oh, because the HR uses this system, you need to speak with them, Harvey, and you need to speak with the facility management as well, because they use this system for this. Because that will really help you. It will really help you to able to know the people that you need to speak with. Like I said last week, your project manager may not know everyone. The project manager may not know everyone, but you need to, speaking with senior people, they will be able to help you to identify all the people, even across the organization. So, and they'll be able to introduce you to, to the right people and to their staff as well, to make sure they give you the right audience, and they create, make time for you to gather the requirement. And, like the level of the stakeholder, also, like if you meet with the senior stakeholder, for example, I think in my, one of my projects I did a few months ago, it happened I have to meet with the, what do we call him? I think the CEO, imagine. And so, because I need to understand the kind of information that he wants to see in the report for his own level. You understand? I know his high-level information, but nobody can determine what he wants to see. So, regardless of the position, of the stakeholder, you still need to speak with them. But what I did was just 15 minutes. I didn't, it's not possible for the, for the CEO to sit with me for 2 hours or 1 hour for me to interview. And another thing is that you cannot invite CEO, like all those top executives. You need to make sure when you are doing your interviewing or workshop, you don't just, put them together with other managers or maybe junior staff. You need to make sure you really keen on that. I cannot invite CEO to the workshop I want to hold with admin staff, or maybe the junior staff. I can't, because that is not, it's on call for, you understand. So you need to create a time, to make sure you go and sit with them, because even they don't even have time to sit like that, and even when I'm interviewing like maybe CEO or executive director like that, what I do is maximum of 30 minutes, because they're just going to give you high level. You understand? They may not say, oh, Habby, you need to go and speak with with Max Smith or my PA. Then she'll be able to explain other things, like regarding this directorate. She'll be able to explain to you. It could be 15 minutes. You understand? So, because in the past I've done like 15 minutes with the directors, executive directors, and so because they are not going to give you the detail anyway. They don't even have that time. So it's just high level. You understand? So you need to also make sure, because like the senior stakeholder, the way the senior stakeholder is going to give you information, it will be different. The way the admin staff or the junior staff that is carrying out that activities, it will be different. So let me just stop there. Let me continue on that. And and there are some, because there are some operational tasks which is only the junior staff, or maybe some certain staff that knows that the senior stakeholder may not know it. So and that's why sometimes they may refer you to other people. And why do you want to interview? I think we've discussed it. You want to interview because you want to understand what they need. You want to gather their requirements. So I will not go into the data. It's just about the purpose of investigation. So let's move on. And what exactly do you want to actually or interview about? What are the questions? What are the things that you want to ask them? It's different from the reason why you want to interview. It could be you want to interview. The reason why I want to interview because I want to gather requirements. So what are the things I want to ask this stakeholder? I want to ask the stakeholder about the features of their department, or the features that they want, or how, or the problem. You understand? So that is the words. And also, when do you need to do it? When do you need to do it? To do the interview, definitely you need to do the interview, during your investigation, period, when you are gathering the requirements. And if I say when, it's not, if I need to interview my stakeholder, there are some things that I need to do, you understand, that I need to do before I even meet the stakeholder, which we're going to discuss soon. And another question that you need to ask is where do you want to interview the stakeholder? So you are talking about the location. So because it's always good, to make sure you interview the stakeholder, in their own environment, because they will be comfortable there. You understand? So it's always good. So when you are doing your interview, you need to be able to answer these 5 questions. Who do you want to interview? Why do you want to interview them? What are the things that you want to, ask them about? And when do you want to interview, and where, the location? So, so the stages of interview, like I said earlier, we're going to go into detail. What are the stages? The planning and preparation. It's not just they assign you on a project, you just send them an email and that's it. So you need to plan for it. You need to plan for the, this interview. You have to prepare your questions. What are the questions that you need to ask them? Because it's always good for you to make sure you have a list or a draft of the questions that you will ask them. It's not that you will send the question to them ahead. You understand? No, you don't have to send the question to them ahead. But make sure you are prepared, because you don't want to, have this interview, meet with them and say, what do I need to ask again? You can't be cracking your brain. You need to come prepared, so they will know that you're a professional, in your role as well. So, and also you need to schedule in the interview ahead of time. I've come across some people that maybe during the they want to interview people, or maybe somebody next tomorrow, and they're just sending an interview or the invite today. No, that's not good. It's good. It's better you send the interview invite, the meeting invite, ahead of time. As soon as you know that this person I'm going to meet with, the person, the stakeholder, is better you just send it the interview invite as soon as possible. If you send it 2 weeks before time, interview date, that is good. 1 week is good. 5 working days is good. But it's always, I would say, as soon as just send it. But you cannot send me an invite for a meeting tomorrow. To be honest, I may not attend it, because I would say, it's not that you just come up, they just assign it to the project, or did you just come across my name that you, as your stakeholder, that you need to interview? No, because I may even have some other things. I may even have some other tasks and other meeting that I need to attend tomorrow. So it's definitely, it's not possible. I need to be prepared. I have other day-to-day activities, day-to-day job that I do as well. So that is even different from this project. Find the project, but I have my own primary task. So that's why you need to make sure you schedule it ahead of time. And people because if their calendar, you schedule it, and it will be in their diary. You understand? They will know that they have something in 2 weeks or maybe next week. They will plan for it, and they'll be able to. They will not cancel, because sometimes they may just say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't attend tomorrow," and that's it. So it's good. Always schedule interview ahead of time. And also, you need to check the availability of your stakeholder, the person you want to interview, before scheduling the interview. I think I've read cases whereby some people will just, BA, they will just send an invite, to the stakeholder and say, oh, I want you to come to the interview next week. So today is 25th. Let's say they want them to come to interview, maybe even if it could be 10th of July. It could be maybe 2nd of July, which is next week, without checking their calendar. And what the person will just do, if you send such to me and I have something, because you don't know whether I have meeting booked, or maybe I'm going to be on leave next week. Because if you don't check, you will know. So, and once you send that to me, and probably maybe I've already have meeting booked, or maybe annual leave next week, or maybe also something like that, what I would just do, I would just decline. I would just say decline. I know how you feel. Somebody decline your meeting invite, definitely you will not be happy with the person. So, but if you check ahead of time before even sending that meeting invite, you'll be able to check. That's why Outlook is there. You can check their calendar and say, type their name and check, is their calendar free? And you'll be able to even know whether, because there are some people that they cannot even joke with their, with their lunchtime. So you will know whether this person lunchtime is usually 1 to 2, because some people will block that lunchtime out in their diary saying, oh, 1 to 2, no meeting place. And some people, they may not even have meeting. They may just probably they have an appointment and they've already put, set that time, put that time in their calendar saying no meeting place. So, and you now send something, definitely that will not look well. So that's why it's good. You check their calendar and check the availability. Assuming that you have maybe 2nd of July in mind, you just go and search 2nd of July. Are they free? What time are they free? Then you'll be able to just put the time that they are free. And the person will just accept, because there's no clash, in their calendar. So always, please, always check availability of your interviewee, the person, the stakeholder, before scheduling the interview. Please, is always, because I know people have, or let's say, complain about that. So please, like I said, check their calendar. And I try as much as possible when I'm planning for an interview. I try as much as possible to avoid Monday and Friday. And do you know the reason why? Because sometimes, imagine you've gone on a weekend, you come back on Monday, you have loads of emails that you need to attend to. You are trying to do your day-to-day job. Monday is usually very busy for most people. You understand? So, and imagine somebody now putting, meeting 10 a.m. 10 a.m. on Monday morning. Fine, we can't do it, so you cannot do it. So, because it won't speak well. I can't do it, and I can't allow another person to do it myself as well, to me as well. So I will not schedule any. But if the meeting has to be by force, you just have to. It's very, very important, and you have to do it on Monday. Then try and do it maybe at maybe anytime after 12. And the reason being that Monday morning you can't just expect me to come. Except the stakeholder say fix it for Monday morning, and that's the only time available. Then you cannot do that. So that is that. And also I try to avoid Friday, because a lot of people, the mode, or maybe the way they on Friday, they don't just want to attend any meeting, they don't want to attend any workshop. So I try as much as possible to avoid Friday as well. So, but I know there are some instances that probably maybe you may not have choice than to put it maybe Monday or Friday. And even I think I've even had an occasion whereby the stakeholder said just put it on Friday, because Friday is usually free for me. Because that's when they think they can have time to attend my meeting interview. You understand? So there are some stakeholders will say, put it on Friday. My Friday is usually light. I'm happy with Friday. Then that is fine. But so, and also what I try, and also when you are doing the interviewing, please always make sure you include the agenda as well. Please, And the reason why, imagine you send meeting invite to a stakeholder, and the stakeholder, fine, you said maybe on the subject line you put finance on projects. You understand? You put that, but I don't know what you are going to ask me. I don't know whether I need to bring anything, any materials, any form, any documents along with me. You understand? So, but when you include the agenda, at least maybe like high level what you are going to discuss. I'm not saying all the questions that you're going to ask. Even if you can list the question, I've never read anywhere that say that is bad, but at least just high level, so that the stakeholder will know what you're going to discuss, and they will come to prepare. You understand? Because there are sometimes the problem, I know there are some people when they're going for interview or meeting, they don't even go with their laptop. You understand? But maybe if you send an agenda and the stakeholder know that they have to show you something on your system for you to be able to understand that requirement, that means they will say, oh, I have to take my laptop to this meeting because I need to show Abby something. That is the reason. So the agenda will help the stakeholder to be prepared, to be able to know what they want to do. You understand what you are going to ask them, because it will make them feel comfortable. Because imagine you asking the stakeholder question and they cannot answer. You understand? And sometimes it could be maybe all those things that you want to discuss is not even relevant. It's not even the stakeholder that knows it. The stakeholder may tell you, oh, Abby, you need to speak with my PA, or you need to speak with the admin assistant. She's responsible for this, and she will be able to give you all the information you require. And that's it. So that means the stakeholder will just say, there's no need of me coming there to waste time. But assuming that you did not send it, the stakeholder will not know. Then you'll be asking the stakeholder all the questions, and the stakeholder will say, I don't know it, I don't know it, I don't know it. That's like waste of time. You've wasted time, the time of the stakeholder and your own time as well. But if the stakeholder knows ahead, overview of what you're going to ask, they know the right people to attend the meeting. The stakeholder will know whether or maybe the staff that is doing the detail work or that knows about those things we also we also attend the interview as well. Then they will be able to give you all the information, because all you need is you want to get the information from them. So there's no need of all the information. Just include the agenda is always good, and you make sure you include the agenda, and also so that will actually add value to your interview, and it also help them to be comfortable as well when you're asking them questions. It will help them to prepare themselves with all the materials that they're going to give you, maybe a supporting document or how they're going to explain to you. They will be prepared. And also, like I said, they can send it to another person if they cannot attend, because they know what you are going to discuss, and they'll be able to send the right person to cover, for the stakeholder as well. And so any material, and if sometimes they may have to send you some things ahead of the meeting, then they'll be able to say, oh, go through all these documents. Then when I attend the interview section, then you can ask me any question, because that will save time as well. And like I said, send the meeting invite few days before the interview. So now, duration of the interview is part of the planning as well. You need to make sure your interview must not be more than 1 hour. It could be 30 minutes, it could be 50, 45. But please, please, please don't imagine you asking somebody question for 2 hours. That I know you may not really get much out of that person. Interview, please, it should not be more than 1 hour, 60 minutes. So don't exceed 1 hour, because even in your meeting invite, you would have put the duration as well, because it will be part of your agenda. The introduction in your meeting invite, you state the introduction, what the project is all about, because you need to introduce yourself. When you're sending a meeting invite to a new stakeholder that they've just assigned to you, first contact, introduce yourself. I'm a BA, my name is this, I'm a BA that just assigned on this project, and I'll be working with this person, Just make sure you introduce yourself. Don't just say meeting invites and just say attend this meeting. The stakeholder will just be looking, who are you? I don't know you. Why should I meet? So always make sure, even if it's in the meeting, you can even send an email before sending the meeting invite just to introduce yourself. And you will not say, okay, I'll be sending an meeting invite shortly to you. You understand? But make sure you introduce yourself, please, because I know some people have encountered that in the past. So it's always good. So for others to learn as well. And also your location, like I said as well, like I said earlier, it's better to interview your stakeholder, in the place of work. Sometimes you may have different locations, different buildings, So imagine maybe my office location is in London, or let's say London Bridge, and another person, maybe my stakeholder is in Edgeware, the same organization, but we just have different location, different buildings. What I would do, I would rather go to Edgeway to meet my stakeholders. And the reason being that they will feel comfortable, where they, in their own location, you understand? So imagine them coming, maybe the stakeholder coming to London Bridge. Why? I'm the one, trying to get information out of them. So it's always good, to make sure you do it in their location. So, and it's easy for them they can easily say, come and see my screen. There are some organizations, they still use desktop. So, and they may not be able to bring the desktop to London Bridge, you understand? So you can easily, while in their office building, you can see all their screens. They can show you forms because they will not want to move, documents around as well. So, and the main reason is that they will feel comfortable and you'll be able to, your interview can be, productive as well. So it's always good. And also, I know this sounds, too easy, arrive your location on time, your interview location on time. Imagine you want to interview me, and I'll be sitting for like 5 minutes, you understand? I'll be like, where is she? You understand? So please, I know it's not, some people say it's not that important, but please, it speaks a lot about you. Arrive the location on time, please. Arrive the location of your interview on time. And your structure of an interview now. So the structure of an interview, you must have, like now, assuming that I want to interview you, I would just say, my name is Abby. Good afternoon. How's your day been? Okay. My name is Abby. So this project, the board has approved, because the stakeholder may not even know about the project has been approved. So you cannot say, this project is about the finance system which we're going to implement to make sure the finance and the HR and also the facility, they're able to integrate and be able to help them with their work. Just give introduction about yourself and about the project, because they may not really know much about the project as well. And there are some maybe grand things that might have been going on they are not aware of. So that will help them. And also, once you introduce yourself, then you start the interview. You start asking them all the questions that you've documented down. And also, when you are doing your interview, during your interview, you can write, when you are asking them questions. One thing you need is that you need to warn them ahead, saying, just in case you see me writing or typing, because all these questions I'll be typing it down to make sure I capture your requirements or your response. And sometimes because some laptops, you can record as well. Just let the interviewer know, that you will be recording this conversation to be able to make sure you capture all the information, all the responses, for these requirements. So you can record on your laptop as well. But I know some people do say, no, you don't have to record. But you can, but just let them know. Anyway, I would say that just let them know that you'll be recording. And if they object to that, then fine. Then you know that, because I'm asking you a lot of things, and for you to document that, the way I'll be speaking is different from the way you'll be capturing, the way you'll be typing. You understand? So sometimes, you can do that. And then once you finish your asking all those questions, the next step is that you need to let them know. You understand? You need to let them know what is going to happen, what you're going to do with the question, with all the information you've gathered from them. What do you want to do? You understand what you're going to do. The next step, just explain to them. So the interview structure, you can have open, like the introduction section, setting the scene. Then you ask them question and answer. Then you summarize. You play back. You understand? Play back what I've definitely it's not really easy for you to. Sorry. So definitely it's not really easy, to actually, to document to play back everything you've discussed for 30 minutes, you understand? But just in a summary, just just you can play back some key things. And also I would say when you are asking the interview, when you are interview, avoid any question that you're going to ask that will say yes, no. Because when there's some response that say, oh, do you, I'm trying to cite an example, because sometimes when it is like a close conversation, you may not really understand, the detail of that requirement. So just try and any question that you ask that you say, that they will say yes, no, because that may not really help you when you are documenting the requirements. And ensure that when you are also interviewing, you jot down as well. You jot down the key points. Then you can there are some people, they don't record, they just jot down. Like I don't record, but I jot down and I just build up on it. And what I do is that I have to do it immediately after that meeting, because if not, I will forget. Imagine like something that you should discuss for 45 minutes. So I may just write some key things, but definitely. And sometimes when I'm interviewing them, I may say, could you please hold on, let me quickly type this, and at the same time, you don't want to having gaps like that, they will wait for you for like 2 minutes. No, that would not really. So that's why you have to find a way to work around that. And the main points, play it back, then let them know what happened next. Then after the interview, you can send them, so that's the follow-up. You can send them an email to say, oh, thank you, because, if you treat your stakeholder very well, they will be nice to you as well. You can just say, oh, thank you for attending the interview. We really appreciate. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to document this requirement, and I'll be sending it to you within the next 72 hours for you to review, and you can come back to me, and that's all. So next time, if you now invite such stakeholder, do you think they would not come to your interview? They will respond to you. You understand? They will respond. So they will accept your invitation, and so that's why you just need to work around that as well. And so that's all about interview. I think here we've talked about the agenda, we've talked about the duration, and which is should not be more than 1 hour for the interview. The location has to be the stakeholder premise if possible, and the invitation needs to be sent ahead of time. And also you conduct the interview, the intro, the questioning, which is the question and answer, and you explain the next step, what you're going to do, because some people may say, oh, she didn't tell us what she's going to do. I was not expecting. I don't even know whether I have to inform maybe my colleague, because I'm going on in maternity leave. You understand? So that's why you need to discuss the next step as well, so that they'll be able to tell you, oh, I'm not going to be around. I'm going on maternity leave in 2 days' time, but you can speak with so person. That's it. And also the follow-up, that's the post. So you have 3 stages: the main the interview, and the post as well, what you need to do. And that's all about interview. So now the workshop, because I think these are the 2 main ones that people use most times. So that's why we are going to discuss just only these 2. And so when your workshop, you need to decide what are the people that you need to invite. So you have 3 different, I think you have 3 different groups. You have your attendees, those are your stakeholders that will be attending the interview, your facilitator, which is the BA. Sometimes it may be maybe the workshop, if it's a big project and they have signed 2 or 3 BA on the project. So it could be maybe 2 BA will be facilitating this project, you understand? So I mean the workshop. So that is why so it could be facilitators, if you are 2. But if it's just you are the only one assigned to this project, you will be the only one that will be facilitating this workshop. And we have scribe, the person may be documenting the requirement, but most times all the workshops that I've attended so far or facilitated so far, to be honest, I don't usually have scribe. I document, do everything myself, you understand? So because the workshop, sometimes it may be that you will getting all the information. You don't have to really write anything much, so you can still manage it. So the pre-workshop. So like the interview, you have some certain things that you need to do. I think we'll be able to, rush through this because of what we've discussed earlier. So, but this workshop is a bit slightly different from interview. And because before you have the workshop, you have to identify your stakeholder as well, because you need to know what, because it will help you, when they have maybe common goal, because it will be able to save time. Like I said, if you have a system that finance, HR, facility, IT, different business units like that, and they need to be involved. So you need to organize a workshop to be able to do this if you have a lot of people that you need to do. And also you need to determine what exactly are you trying to get out of this workshop. What are the outcomes that you want to achieve, because you need to determine this before you can set up a workshop. So, and also you need to, in your pre-workshop, you need to make sure there is a venue. You locate a venue. Imagine you want to invite about 20 people, and if you don't plan on time, it's maybe 4 days you are now booking the meeting room, maybe 4 days before the workshop. It could be you may not have a right meeting room, because you want to invite 20 people, and the meeting room that is available at that time that you want to book the meeting room is going to take about maybe 11 people. How do you want to do it? So that's the main reason. All this thing may be minor or it may be small, but it is really, really very important. So you need to make sure especially workshop, to be, even if it's one-to-one interview, you can easily manage that, work around and say, oh, let's go to my desk, or maybe the stakeholder can say, let's go to my desk, don't worry. But workshop, imagine people traveling from different locations, because there are sometimes, people will travel from different locations. And imagine they now come, they could not even find a venue to use. That does not speak well, So that's why workshop, if possible, I will book the meeting room or the venue like 1 month before, if possible. Once I know the date, I will book that workshop, because you don't want to disappoint a lot of people. Reputation is at stake as well. So make sure the venue, very, very important. And for your workshop, what are the things that you need to use? Maybe the equipment. It may be you are going to use you need the flap chart, you need maybe all the things that you need to use. Just make sure you get them ready as well, and ensure that all your necessary things that you will need, like post-it notes during your workshop, you need I think is a must. You need to go with post-it notes, your flip chart, your pen. You need to go with it. You need to make sure you have all this material, because those are the things that you're going to use for your workshop. So which we're going to explain to that, and the reason why you are going to need that. And also, like I said, check the availability of the stakeholder on on their calendar. Make sure you check that to be able to know your stakeholder, because imagine now you have about 15 people or 20 people. Because some may be available this day, the other may not be available this. So, but if you plan it ahead, like 1 month before or 3 weeks, before time, definitely there's high possibility that you'll be able to get every one of them to be available at that time. Their diary will be free. So, but rather than leaving it like 1 week before when they would have booked meeting and all those things. So that's why workshop, please try to do it ahead of time once you know. So, and check their diary, like I said as well. So at the worst, you spend 2 hours, checking that diary to make sure, you can get it in. And also, like I said, ensure the diary is also free before you can send it. Except maybe you have, like maybe just 1 or 2 people that cannot attend. But if those people are key stakeholders, you need to find a way to make sure, you find a good time for every one of them. Like I said, a workshop, I don't think it will not be a good idea to hold a workshop on a Friday, because some people may be working, they usually work from home on Friday. So like I said, Tuesday, Wednesday, I think that will be good as well. And make sure you send your meeting invites out as well, just like same as interview, and also the agenda for the workshop, so that everyone will be prepared for the workshop and they'll be aware of what you are going to discuss. And the structure of the workshop, you need to decide. Now, in the workshop, there are several techniques as well that you can use, which we are going to discuss. I know we still have a bit of time. we're going to discuss, there are several techniques that you can use again. This one is like a workshop as like sub technique that you can use for the workshop. So you need to be able to, before the day, you need to decide, am I going to use brainstorming? Well, that's one of the techniques. Am I going to use round robin, which we're going to, so you need to decide what technique are you going to use for you to facilitate your workshop session. So, and also then you can facilitate the workshop. You facilitate the workshop. So now during, like I said, your workshop, the duration, like the other time I said for the interview, should not be more than 1 hour. But for your workshop, you can still do 3 hours, 4 hours. And also, if you have people coming from different locations, because some different organizations, they have different location. Maybe some may be working in London, some may be in Glasgow, some may be in, and they may have to be physically present. I know that sometimes you can do video conferencing, or to do all this, but during workshop, to be honest, video conferencing may not really be too, it may not really be too productive in a way, you understand? So and some in stakeholder, they will even tell you that they prefer, that they prefer to come to the, for the workshop, to be present. So that's why you need to make sure you consider their travel time as well. Imagine if people will be coming from maybe Peterborough, or they're coming from Manchester. They may not want to come a day before. They may want to come on the day. And so, like, such people may want to leave their house maybe like 6:30 or 7 o'clock, so I will decide. Normally, my workshop will start maybe either 10 or 11. And the reason being that if you know that you have location, office in different location, people in different location that will be attending, I would rather put, schedule it to start at 10 or 11. But if it's the same location, then we can say 10. Because some people do resume work 10 to 6, and some 9 to 5, you understand. But 8 to 4, 9 to 5, 10 to 6 is usually common working time. So I would rather do 10 and 11. And just to consider, if people are coming from other location, they will be able, because you need to consider that place. You need to consider it. You understand? And so the duration as well. So like I said, the duration, just make sure you can do 3-4 hours. And if you're doing 3-4 hours, make sure you give them break time, lunch time. Their break time, you may give them maybe like, if you're starting, let's say 10 or 10:30 or 11, I may say, okay, 11 to 1, we are going to maybe, let's say, 11 to 1, we can say, oh, we are going to be discussing. Then from 1, they can have lunch, because that's 1 is usually lunch time. So I can say 1 to 1:30 is their lunch. So definitely I can give them 1 hour. Definitely I can't. So I usually do like maybe 30 minutes lunch break. So they may have lunch 1 to 1:30. Then from 1:30 we may carry on from another 1.5 hours, which is 3 o'clock. So if it's going to be like 4 hours or 5 hours, then I may say maybe by 3 o'clock they may have maybe like 5 minutes or 10 minutes toilet break or tea break. Then you continue for another 1 hour to wrap up. So because during your workshop is where you have different people from different stakeholders from different business units, and they will be throwing out ideas that you guys need to, there are so many things that because you want to gather most of your requirements during that workshop. So you want to maximize the time. So that's that for the workshop, please. And make sure you give them a break between 90 and 120 minutes, which is between 1.5 hours and 2 hours. Just make sure you give them a break, because you want them to concentrate and also participate properly as well. And consider people that are traveling from other locations as well. And also make sure, so you facilitated the workshop. When you are doing the workshop, you introduce yourself. Despite the fact that you send a meeting invite to them, then you just say, oh, my name is Abby. I'm now what I may be here. As you all know, I've sent this meeting invite for us to come and discuss on this finance system that we want to implement. So I want each and everyone to introduce. Then you will start, from maybe the first person by your right hand or left hand. So you just ask them to introduce themselves, because not everyone, sometimes they may not know each other, you understand? So it's an opportunity for them to know that, okay, James, okay, you work in finance, okay, oh, HR, oh, okay, it's just for them to know, one another. So it's always good, so that when you are discussing during the workshop, they'll be able to, they'll be able to match that, your face to your requirements as well, and what you are saying, they'll be able to relate well, you understand, to be able to know that, oh, finance, that's why she's in finance department, that's why she's giving finance requirements, things like that. And also, so you introduce yourself, the facilitator, the attendees, they will introduce themselves, and also you set some rules, like the guideline. You may say during this workshop, we are going to be using this technique. It's not everybody that knows brainstorming. You will need to explain to them. The way we are going to gather, we are going to do the workshop is that we are going to be using brainstorming, whereby I will ask you to be calling out your ideas, what you want, what are your pain points, you understand? Because during this workshop, you may have, because you have the agenda already, you may say you want to discuss the pain points. What are the problems, they are facing, the weaknesses? Then they will be calling it out. Maybe after that, you do that paper point, you may say, what are the things that you want? You may have that section maybe in your agenda. According to your agenda, you will do that again, and you now say, okay, can you explain? Let's discuss about the processes. How do you do things? You understand? So that's an opportunity to explain how the workshop is going to work. So the guideline, you may say you have pen there, you have notepad. This wall, you need to make sure you put all your pain points here at this front side, left hand side. Put this, all those guidelines. You just make sure you let them know as well. Then you set the objective of the outcome of the project, of the workshop. You understand what you're trying to achieve at the end of the workshop, so that all of them will be thinking towards that as well, and help you work towards that. You walk them through the materials. Like I said, your post-it note, you can say this blue post-it note, please only use that for let's say the weaknesses. Use yellow for, depending on how you want to do it, you understand. Just walk them through all the materials that you have in the room, because not everybody know what they need to do. So you need to work that. And also you now do, the challenge, the tasks that they want to do, and you hand out materials to them as you're required. Also, during the workshop, you can, the requirements, you gather the requirements, you discuss about the problem, you could discuss about maybe the future system, what they want. You may discuss about the process maps as well, during the workshop, because you have a whole day to do this. You can, and also you can ask them questions as well to understand, anything that they say, maybe their requirements. You can do it as well. You can, because it's just a way of, gathering your requirements. And once you finish all your requirements, then you let them know the next step. Just as interview, you let them know the next step as well. And what do you do after your workshop? Like I said, following the workshop, you can send a summary of, what you've discussed. Sometimes it may not really be difficult to discuss, the summary like that, but make sure you can distribute maybe like the high level to all of them, to thank them for attending, and the next step as well. And also, the next step where is going to happen, that I will be circulating this to the stakeholders, and could you please make sure you spare out time in the next 48 hours to review this, or 72 hours depending. Then you go ahead and document your requirements, because while you've gathered everything now, you just need to document your requirements. And so, like I said, we have different workshop techniques. So let's check this question. If you have any question here, do you also include agenda when sending invite to the stakeholder for the workshop? Yes, you can. Yes, because that will help them to prepare. Yes, please. And also, somebody asks, can the business or project manager dictate or specify what techniques you must use for elicitation? No, because this is your area. This is your specialty. That is why you're a professional in that area. So you need to decide and what you want to actually do. You need to decide this. Nobody's going to dictate that for you. Project manager will not. So you have to come up with, even if the program manager, oh, you can do workshop. You can, if the workshop is not going to help, you can say, no, I can't because so reason, then you let the project manager know. But you are responsible for that. So, like I said, the workshop technique, post-it exercise. And because you need to understand this so that you'll be able to know the technique you want to use. Post-it exercise is whereby you use the sticky notes that we usually, the sticky notes that we use, all those small, colorful ones. So, you distribute it and you ask them, or you may even place it maybe on the tables. Then you can say, because it depends on how you arrange the venue, then you can say, could you write all the, maybe the problems that you are facing at the moment, that your pain points, the weaknesses of the system that you are using at the moment, then each and every one of them will write it, so they will write it down. And it could be, so maybe that's first section. Maybe next session you may say, okay, could you write one requirements that you want, the features or the functionality that you want for this new system. And one thing you need to notice that you need to make sure when they are writing the requirement is one requirement per sticky note. You need to make sure you explain that one requirement per sticky note, because you don't want them, sticky note is very small, so you don't want them to model the requirements in that. So you just say, write one requirement per sticky note. And, so once they do that, you just tell them, okay, this left-hand side, please put all your pay points. You just tell them, so they will know that, so every one of them will get stopped, you understand, from the seat, because it has to be interactive. So could you please put all your pay points there? Oh, all the strengths of this system, could you put it at the left-hand side? Oh, all the new features that you want in the new system, can you put it at the back of the room? That is post-it exercise. So they will walk around and stick it on the board or on the wall, and each point per one sticky note. And we have another one, which is brainstorming, that I explain that. So brainstorming is that you can say, could you tell me, could you write your pain points, the weaknesses of this system? Can you write it? So they will use, so the brainstorming is that they will be calling it out for you. So that's why you need your flip chart. That's why you need your pen as well, that's why you need a board if possible. But most times it's better to use flip chart. The reason being that if you assume that you exhaust the board space, you're going to rub it off. So how do you want to remember all those things, all those ideas that they've actually given to you? No way. But if you have a flip chart, you will just be flipping it. As you exhaust one page, you flip it to the other page. So at the end of the workshop, you take your flip chart and go to your house or go to your office and be using it to document your requirements. So that is why you need to go with your flip chart as well. So the brainstorming, they will not write it out. They will be calling it out. You can say, oh, okay, so they may say, oh, it's too slow, you write it down. Oh, it's time consuming, we cannot generate invoice, unable to assign tasks to others, they will be shouting it out to you. So you will be writing it. You will be the one that will be writing it. But if you want them to, although you cannot really discuss in detail, during that session, and while you are writing it, the benefits of the brainstorming is that while you are writing it on the board, some other people may say, it may juggle their brain to say, oh, you need to write this as well. You need to write it because everybody is seeing what you are writing. You understand? So, and the same, one thing is that you need to notice that when you are doing this brainstorming, you understand, don't discard or disqualify any idea. Please write everything down. You can ask them questions to clarify the idea, but make sure you write all the ideas down. But it's later when you're not doing the analysis that you can now know that, okay, this one is relevant, this one is not relevant. You understand? So that is that. And so, but you cannot discuss in depth. That's one thing that's one of the shortfall of this brainstorming. So let's move on because of time. Brainwriting, round robin. Round robin is, when you are asking them turn by turn. The first person you ask them, could you tell me the weakness of the system? The first person say, then, the next person say their own, but one thing is that people feel you are putting them on spot. That's one of the downside of this one as well again, because you want to ask people turn by turn, one by one, you are asking them in turns. If I don't have any idea to contribute, that means I may feel somehow, you understand? So that's one of the downside of this. So, and the other one is brainwriting. The brainwriting is that, the brainstorming is when they're shouting it out and you are writing it, but the brainwriting is that they write it on the sticky notes by themselves, and they may now put it in the middle of the table. You may say, could you please, you have 5 minutes, could you all write all your pain points, please? So they will grab the sticky notes. So that is why you need to have sticky notes during your workshop. Is compulsory. You have to have your sticky notes. So they will now use, each one of them will now be writing all those their points, whatever they want to, or be it requirement, be it futures, be it the pain points, then they will be writing it down. And once they write it, so they are not calling it out, nobody's talking, you understand, they are just writing it down and putting it maybe on the table there, so they are not going out as well. And another one is breakouts, understand. And some people, during the brainwriting, other people may write an idea, they may, so other people may see it as well. They may pick it up and write something after it as well. And breakout is when you divide, like let's say we invited about 20 people. We may now say we want to divide this. Oh, you have to be in 5, in the group of 5, a group of 5. So that means as a group, they will be working on pain points. Each group will be working, saying, could you each group write all their pain points, please? So that means they will be working as a group. So requirements as that. So those are the different, ways, different techniques, workshop techniques, that we have. So you can now decide how you want to. So once the breakouts, once they now finish, everybody will now say, okay, let's discuss it. Each other people, maybe you've given them 5 minutes each, 5 minutes for everyone. You may not say time up. Could you now, group A, can you tell us all the pain points that you've written? Then they will tell us all the pain points. I will be writing it down. Then the group B will say their own again. I will write it down. Group C will say their own. So if we now want to maybe expatiate on it, we can. But that is it. But they will just discuss as a group. So that is that. And now, requirements. So we finish our workshop. So those are the 2 main ones that I can tell you. Let's quickly look through these because of time. I'm really rushing about. So is post-it exercise on the same as brainwriting? No, it's not. Is not the same as post-it notes or post-it exercise. You will have to, get up and put it on the wall. But brainwriting, you just write it and you may just put it on the table or maybe in front of you there. So it's different. Post-it exercise, you just have to, it's just like you will be walking around and people will be saying, put it there. Maybe you can say this section. So it's different. So it's still the same. They're all still writing the same pain points as the breakouts, but it's just the way it's being done is different. Oh, so your requirements now. So we are saying your requirements when you are documenting. This is about documentation now. Please listen. This is about documentation. So as your requirements, for your requirements to be valid, when you are documenting it has to have a priority. If, like I explained, I think the first lesson last week, when you are writing a requirement, if I said I want the table to have 4 legs, you don't know whether it's a must. The manufacturer would not know whether it's a must or is or maybe it's something they can do without. You understand? So they don't know. So your requirement documentation needs to have a priority. You need to have a priority for your requirements because that will actually determine, it's just the priority. You just have to have a priority. Like we discussed last week, you have must go, must, should, could, and would. You understand? We've explained that last week. So anytime you write a requirement, if your priority is missing, so that means you are not your requirements documentation is wrong. You understand? So every requirement, each requirement must have a priority. Is it that must or should or could or won't? Next week, I'm going to show you a sample of the requirement documents. So, but we are not, because I thought we'll be able to do it today, but we are not going to do it today. So your valid requirement. So if you write a requirement that does not have, what's it called? It does not have a priority, then is not valid. So, and when you are writing your requirements, only one requirement, only one. You know what I mean by only one is that the chair must have. The chair must have, or the table must have 4 legs. I cannot say the table must have 4 legs and have blue top. You know, 4 legs, blue top is, those are 2 requirements. You understand? So I can only write requirements 1, the table must have 4 legs. Requirement 2, the table must have blue top. You understand? So that's how you write your requirement. So only one requirement, only one per requirement. So, or per sentence. I cannot say per line, because when you write a table must have 4 legs. You understand? It may exceed 1 line of your, of your Microsoft Word. You understand? That's why I don't want to use maybe sentence, but I mean line. So, but I have explained what I mean by that. And when you are writing your requirement, it has to be positive writing. You cannot say my requirements, you cannot say the table must not have 3 legs. You understand? The table must not have 3 legs. You understand? So I'm saying the table must not have 3 legs. So that's negative, because you're saying must not have or should not have. You understand? So I'm saying the table must have. So always write in a positive, or in a positive way. Table must have. Table should do, but don't say the table should not have blue top. You understand? So that's what I mean by positive writing. And simple sentence, it has to be very simple, that it will be easily understood. People will be able to understand it easily. You understand? Table must have 4 legs, or the system should have ability to log in, ability to create a password. You understand? That's very simple. That's what we mean by that. And concise, you see the same thing. It has to be, simple. It has to be clear, unambiguous word. You don't have to use, some terminologies that people will not be able to understand, or stakeholder will not be able to understand. So you have to be, make sure your requirement is very clear. Table must have 4. System must be able to have ability to create, password. Very clear and very simple. And numbering, when you're writing your requirements, you need to number it as well. I'm going to show that. That will be next week. I'm going to show you a sample. You have to number it. Requirements 1, so it could be FO1, FO2, or 1.1 and 1.2, depending on how we are going to numbering it. So you need to have that. And avoid using such word as etc. others. You can say, for example, if I say the system must have 4 legs, 2 tables, and others. You understand? What does others mean? What does, or the table must have many legs? You understand? What does many? You need to be, you need to state what it is exactly. So you can't use etc. or others or many or some legs. You understand? That's not correct. That's not a valid requirement. So you need to know that. So our requirements now, your requirement has to be specific. It has to be clear. These are the key things that your requirement needs to meet this criteria. Specific. So now, what I mean by specific, if I say James called someone, James called a woman, James called Rose. If you look at it, James called someone. What did James call? James called a woman. It's still a general. It's still like a common noun. Woman is used for all females. You understand? James called Rose. So Rose is someone, and is also a woman. So the right way to write this requirement is James called Rose. You have to be specific. You cannot generalize it. So the same thing applies with your requirement. You cannot you can't say, oh, the table must have many legs. No, you understand? And the table must have legs. Like I explained last week, what type of leg? Is this straight leg, curved leg, round leg, or which leg of the table we have? You understand? So you have to be specific. If the table has to be maybe 24 inches, then you have to say, you cannot say the table has to be short or long. No. So that's an example of specific. And also, this is an example again. So you can say the dress must be long. Definitely, you are saying the dress that you want, the manufacturer should manufacture a long dress. You are saying the dress shall be knee length. You understand? You are still telling us about the length of the dress, whether it's skimpy or short or or whichever length. Also, you are saying all these are the way that people can write, you understand, but we are just trying to find out the correct way of writing. Then you can say the dress must be 24 inches long. If you look at this, which one do you think is right? The dress must be long, the dress shall be knee length, the dress must be 24 inches long. So 24 inches long is telling me about the length of the dress, how long it should be, because the 24 inches could be above the knee, it could be below the knee, you understand? So the last one, which is the dress must be 24 inches long, is the right way of writing this requirement about the dress. So you have to be specific. Long is general. Long could have different meaning. The length could be, it could be on top of knee or the below knee. So specific, 24 inches. This example is about, the team must have a cake. Because that's the requirement. They want to have a cake. That's what the requirement. So if you don't want to write it, you want to write the team must have a cake. Cake. What type of cake? The team must have vanilla cake. You understand? So the team must have a cake. It's different from the team must have vanilla cake. So if I'm going to write the requirement for a caterer or a baker, I would say the team must have vanilla cake. Because if I say cake, the baker may decide to do maybe strawberry or velvet cake or another taste. So I have to be specific of the type of the cake that I want. It has to be, the team must have vanilla cake. So that means if the baker brings strawberry or velvet or or chocolate cake, that means it's not right. It's not according to my specification. So the next one is the cake must be big. The cake could be round in shape. The cake could have a big shape. The cake must be 16 inches tall. If you look at the cake must be big and the cake must be 16 inches tall. You could see that it's different. Because if you tell a baker that, I'm having a birthday, I want to bake a cake for my daughter's birthday, and I want the cake to be big. So that means the baker can bake you a cake of 12 inches, 16 inches, 24 inches, 30 inches. You understand? So, but they will ask you, what is how tall do you want? Is it 16 or 12 or 18? You understand? So you have to be specific. So 16 is the right way of writing it, saying the cake must be 16 inches tall. So now another way is that you want the cake to have a good shape. If you say what is the definition of your good shape? So that's why you have to say the cake could be, because the cake could be round in shape, it could be oval, it could be circle, it could be rectangle. So if I want to write it, I would say the cake could be round in shape, because you need to specify the type of shape, because there are so many shapes. I hope that is clear. That's why I started. I'm sure that is very clear. Specific. So you are very specific about the type of cake that you have, vanilla cake, about the shape, which is round shape, about how big it is, which is 16 inches still. So, okay, so now, your requirements must be specific. Another thing is your requirements must be measurable. That is, you must be able to measure your requirements. Imagine that cake or the dress. If the manufacturer or the baker brings it, you can measure it. You can check it whether it is right, whether it is 24 inches or it is 16 inches cake. So that is that. That's all your requirements. You should be able to measure it. You should be able to test it whether it's right or not. If it's requirements about to be able to create an account, you understand? To be able to create an account, so that means you need to be able to check whether that requirement can create an account. You understand? So that is that. So your requirement must be specific. It must be measurable. It must be achievable. Is it something that I can't say the cake must have stones. You understand? How is the baker going to bake a cake with stones? So, or the cake or this dress must have brooms. You understand? Is that possible? You understand? So it starts to be achievable. It should be something that is. So if I say the system must be able to create an account, it's possible. The system must be able to reset a password. Yes, it is possible. So you must be able to achieve. Your requirements must be achievable. That is why when your stakeholder are giving you your requirement, when you get to your decks, you need to be able to analyze it. Is it achievable? Is it possible that we'll be able to measure this? You need to be able. So if there are some requirements that it may not be possible, then you'll be able to go back to them and say, "Oh, I have checked with the technical team, and they said this is not possible. The system cannot do this." And that is what we are doing, taking about achievable and relevant. So like I said, there are some. Imagine you want to bake a cake, and somebody said, "Oh, we want to have a dress." Is a dress relevant to a cake? No. So it has to be relevant to the project, because there are sometimes you'll be working on a particular project and they will be telling you something that is even out of scope. You understand? You need to make sure the requirement they're giving you is relevant for that project and is not something that is out of scope of the project. You understand? So, and your requirement needs to be time frame. So that is where the SMART that we discussed last week comes from. The SMART, I said specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time. So you can trace this requirement. Some people will say testable. You can test it. You can trace it to who actually gave you this requirement. Who gave the requirement to you? You understand? So that is this. Your requirements must meet this criteria. It must be SMART. It must be specific, achievable, measurable, relevant, and testable or traceable or time frame. You have different T's. We are not really going to discuss much on this, which is good because this is very critical as well. And so we are going to discuss more on this next week. So it's about categories of requirements. We have different types of requirements. We have functional requirements, general requirements, technical requirements, and non-functional requirements. So we are going to discuss this in detail next week. So, but definitely a general requirement is a requirement whereby it could be maybe business policy. It could be about legal. It could be about compliance. You understand? They may say, the system must comply with data protection Act 2018. So that is general requirement. You understand? They may say the system must comply with Financial Conduct Authority. You understand? That's a regulatory body for the financial system markets. You understand? So that's a general requirement. Technical requirement is a requirement that has to do with the hardware of the system, or maybe software of the system, or integration of the system. I'm going to give you an example of that probably next week. So it could be, you may say the requirements must support Internet Explorer 11 plus and above. You understand? That's a technical requirement because it has to do with the software of the system. You may say the requirement has to be integrated, has to be compatible to be with Oracle software. You understand? You may say the requirement, the software, we may say the system must be able to, we must be able to use the system on HP laptops. It could be, you may say you want to maybe Cisco device, or must be able to run on Cisco device, because that is hardware requirement. But we are going to discuss in detail on that next week. Functional requirement is what the functionality of the product of the system. What do you want the system to do? You understand? The features, to create an account, to be able to reset password. Then the non-functional is how or the system will behave. You understand? You are talking about the reliability, the performance. I want you the backup. You want the system to be able to back up every 24 hours. You want the system to be able to maybe available 99.9% time. You want the system to be able to retain data for 25 years. But we are going to discuss that in detail. I'm still going to revisit this next week. But it's just to give you an overview of that. And now, question time. So if you could just spend 5 minutes on this, please. 5 minutes on this. It's just that it will help you to be able to, what we'll be discussing so far. Yes, if you can do that, please. Okay, why is business requirements not listed in the categories of requirement? So I've generalized that on that general requirements. Because if you check the BA textbook, I think you have either business or general there. But the business, so that's why I said the business requirements could be business policies. It could be government policies. So that is under all your business, it will be under the general. So I've categorized that under general requirements. Okay. So yeah, name 2 words we have avoid. You have etc, other, some. Your requirements must have, second one, your requirements must have what, yes, please? Oh. Your requirements must have priority. That's correct. Yes, your requirements must have priority. That's correct. Number 3. Always write 1 requirement per sentence line, yes or no? I know we discussed it, yeah. Yes, everyone, correct. Okay, number 4, requirements must be, what is the missing word? Number 4, your requirements must be, what is the missing word? Smart. Is specific, sorry. Your S is specific. Yes, good. Because in your S is specific, not smart. So the old word is that your requirements must be smart, but your R is relevant and your S is specific, like specific. James Corden Rose, cake must be 24 inches tall, cake must be round in shape. So those are specific. Because, like I know this SMART question, definitely you come across it in the BA foundation exam. They usually have a way they will reward it, you understand? So you just have to know the meaning, what the specific SMART and everything is all about. So list 4 investigation or elicitation techniques. Okay, I don't know why. Okay, interview, research, workshop, observation, good. Prototype, questionnaires, good. Brain, yes. So interview, research, yeah, good. Yeah, well done, everyone. And I think the last one is list 3 workshop techniques. 3 workshops techniques, because this topic that we discussed today, definitely you have questions around this when you are doing your foundation exam. So you have questions around this. So they may say, what is the name of the technique that you follow somebody, to see how task is being done? So then you have to say it. So yes, 3 workshop techniques. So we have brainstorming, break, post-it exercise, round robin, brain writing, breakouts. Yes, good. Well done, everyone. Well done. You've done really well. Well done. So because as now that you know this, when you find yourself, doing the exam, you'll be able to remember all these things and you'll be able to relate to the question regardless of how they frame the question. You will be able to know what they're trying to get from you. And yeah, so, and that is the end of the lecture or training or session for today. So, and I hope you've gained something out of it today. And thank you for coming. Thank you for joining in. So hopefully I will join you next week for the 3rd session. So thank you. Thank you for your time.